Oh, hey there. Hi, it's Mrs. Santoro. I'm here with your second day of Book Bloom Book Talks. I'm going to tell you about three more books today. The first one is called The Westing Game. The second one is called Why We Broke Up. And the third one is called A Monster Calls. A Westing Game is actually an old book. This is considered a classic now, but a couple teachers recommended that I give out this book. I thought it was a great idea. The Westing Game is a short book, so if you're not a big reader, this would be a good choice for you. And it's a mystery. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of the game or the movie Clue, but the Westing Game is very similar to that. 16 people are moved into a condominium, and when they get there, they're read the will of a man named Mr. Westing. And the will reads that whoever can figure out who murdered him is the one who inherits his millions of dollars. And the trick is that one of the 16 is the one that murdered him. This is called the Westing Game. The next one I want to tell you about, I love this book because a few years ago I gave out a book called I Can't Keep My Own Secrets, which was about 6-word memoirs written by teens all over the world. And the cool thing about that book was that it really became an internet craze, and that's also happened with this book as well. This is a Prince Award winner. It's called Why We Broke Up, and it's by Daniel Handler, which is a name that most of you probably don't recognize. However, he went under a much more popular name, and his books were really, really popular a few years ago, and that was Lemony Snicket's. So the guy that wrote this is the same guy that wrote the Lemony Snicket series, a series of unfortunate events. And what's really cool about this book is it sparked a whole internet craze. There's a site that you can go to called whywebroke.com, and there are hilarious and sad stories of people's breakups, famous and obscure. And you can go there and post your own breakup story and read others. There are also some actually written right on the back of the book. This is the breakup story of Min and Ed, and the story takes place through pictures of the pieces of things that Min held on to during the time that they were together. And like many girls out there probably have done, we've all kept a box of all the things that reminded us of that relationship. And one by one, the book goes through those items in the box, and she tells the story of why each of those items was of so much importance to them and how it ultimately led to their breakup. It's a great story. I loved this book, and I found it funny, and I think that anybody who has ever had a breakup will love this book. It's called Why We Broke Up. The last book I'm going to tell you about, this book is by Patrick Ness. Many of you might not know who he is, but he wrote a really popular trilogy called, I forget what the name of the trilogy is called, but the first name of the trilogy is The Knife of Never Letting Go, and his second book is The Ask and the Answer, and the third is Monsters of Men. It's the Chaos Walking series. That's the name of the series. That series was incredibly popular, although I don't know if many of our students have read it. It was a wonderful series. He's an excellent writer, and this is one of his next books. The idea for this book came from a woman named Siobhan Dowd, who actually died of cancer before she was able to write the book, and so she passed the idea on to Patrick Ness, and he wrote this story. This is one of those books that when I get ready for the book bloom, I research books for months, and I go back and forth through lists, and I get recommendations from people. And this book, for whatever reason, I took it on and off my list like 7 different times. I put it on and then I took it off, and then I put it on and then I took it off, because I wasn't sure how I was going to sell the book to you, how I was going to come in and talk to you about this book and get you to understand how wonderful it is. I hadn't read the book either and didn't have a copy of it, so I knew that if I ordered it, I was ordering it just on the faith of what I was hearing from other people. But Mr. White actually said to me that this this is definitely one I should keep on the list. So I decided to do it, and I am so glad that I did. You will love this book. It is not what you expect it to be, and it's frightening, and it's funny, and it's touching, and it's all the things that make a book wonderful. And on top of that, it has beautiful pictures in it, and the pictures go throughout the book. In some ways, it reminds me of a book that I read when I was younger, but the subject matter is much deeper than that. Let me see if I can find a picture for you. The pictures are all black and white. They're very dark. I don't know how many of you have ever read the old scary books called Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, but the pictures very much remind me of that. They're sketchy and gritty and a little bit frightening, but they're beautiful. And the story is about a boy named Connor who wakes up at 12:07 midnight to something standing outside his door, and it has come for the truth. And that's the only thing that I'm going to tell you about this book, but it's called A Monster Calls. You will not regret this as a book choice. It's a book for anybody. It doesn't matter what kind of books you like, you will love this book. So, next time you see me, I'll have 3 more for you. I hope you can make it May 31st at 7. Talk to you soon.